afternoon, everyone. So, as we know, our mains exam has been approaching. So, we have started a series of some special topics which have always been the favorite of UPSC. Now, coming to the subject of disaster management, they have been asking topics like floods, the tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, which have been in the news. So, today we are going to take a topic of urban flooding. As you have been know, it has been in the news, or I should say it has been creating havoc in few of the cities like Delhi, Chandigarh, Manali. There have been too many instances of urban flooding. So in this topic we are going to explain what exactly is urban flooding, what are the reasons behind it, what impact does it create, what should be the measures we should take to mitigate the impact of urban floods. All right. Then we will also explain some of the government initiatives that has been taken considering the urban floods in focus. All right. So we have urban floods, their reasons, their impact, their measures, and the government initiatives which have been taken. All right. So let's start the topic. What do you mean by urban flood? Everyone must be knowing the meaning of flood. What is a flood? The inundation of any area by excess amount of water that it is not possible to handle is known as flood. So basically, urban flood is a type of flood which happens in urban areas, or I should say due to urbanization. Is it clear? So urban flooding is defined as an excessive runoff in developed urban areas where the storm water does not have anywhere to go due to poor capacity of the drainage system, causing inundations. Is it clear? We have some specific words like excessive runoff. There has been rain, there has been a storm, or there can be a cloud burst where the runoff is more than the normal runoff which the city or an urban area can handle. Is it clear? So it is an excessive runoff in developed urban areas. Obviously, we have been talking about the urban flooding where the storm water does not have anywhere to go. All right. So is it like urban area? Let us consider it as a bowl, and these are basically low-lying areas, and the rain has been happening. So the water collects everywhere with no place to go outside. Is it clear? तो वी हैव डिफाइंड अर्बन फ्लडिंग, एक्सेसिव रन ऑफ होगा अर्बन एरियाज में जहां पे वाटर को आउटसाइड का कोई सोर्स नहीं मिलेगा एग्जिट करने के लिए. इज इट क्लियर? सो यहां से हम लोग आगे बढ़ते हैं. देन वी हैव रीजंस which can either be man-made or either can be natural. We will discuss them one by one and see what are the exact reasons for these kind of floods to happen. First of all, man-made. So these are the man-made reasons for urban flooding. So what do you mean by man-made reasons? Actually, these are some kind of reasons for which we can say human being is directly responsible for these kind of things to happen, which will further lead to the phenomena of what we can say urban floods. Is it clear? ठीक है. तो first is urban dome. Have you heard of the term urban dome? तो इसको हम थोड़ा सा elaborate करते हैं. It is one of the most environmental issues, one of the most important environmental issue which has been directly responsible for the occurrence of urban floods. See, let me take an example. Suppose there is a plain area and the sun has been shining overhead. Can you see the sun rays are coming directly at this area? Suppose the value of this area is A. Is it clear? We have taken an example where the sun is shining directly overhead this plain area. Now, as the man moves in a plain area, the development will take place, the urbanization will take place, the population density will increase, more and more number of people will settle inside a particular area. Now, how to accommodate these number of people in a particular area? Obviously, we need more buildings, we need more educational institutes to provide them with educational opportunities, we would be needing more number of hospitals, we would be needing more number of basically service centers to cater to their needs. Now, the urbanization has been happening, so we have more number of buildings developed above this plain area. Initial area was A, but now see, is the surface area on which the sun will shine has been increased or not? It has been obviously been increased. Now the area which has been receiving the insolation clearly been increased, so there is a greater possibility for it to capture more heat as compared to the previous ones. Now there is one more difference. Earlier when this area used to be clear, it was obviously green. It was obviously green, which means it would have been the greater capacity to reflect back the sun's insolation. Now with the concretization, what do you mean by concretization? The more building up of concrete buildings in any particular area is known as concretization. There has been infrastructure building, concrete have been used, pavements have been created, roads have been made. So all of these do nothing but increase the surface area of any particular area and increase the heat absorbing capacity of that particular area. Is it clear? Now this urban dome, what will it do? It will increase the more localized heat conditions. Now as we see, there would be more localized heat conditions which will do nothing but increase the temperature of that particular area. Clear? Step wise if we see, हमने क्या डिस्कस किया? Plain area was getting converted into a developed area. What developed area will do? It will basically increase the surface area for the heat insolation to be increased. Now with the increasing heat insolation, the temperature of that area will increase. And what this increased temperature will do? It will create more conditions for the excessive rainfall to take place. Now let me come back to a basic concept of geography. Can you tell me how the rainfalls took place? How the rainfalls start their origin? Basically, the first and the foremost condition for the rainfall to happen is the low pressure area, or I should say there should be the upliftment of the air so that the clouds can move upward. Now see, when this temperature has been increased, and we know pressure has been inversely proportional to temperature for a particular volume of the matter. ठीक है? Pressure is inversely proportional to temperature for a particular volume of the element. Now we see when the temperature was increased, so obviously pressure would decrease. Now this low pressure, or I should say intense low pressure over a urban dome, will create the possibilities for excessive rainfall. इतना क्लियर है? हमने अर्बन डोम एक रीजन लिया. अर्बन डोम मीन्स एक्सेसिव अर्बन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. Excessive urban infrastructure was due to excess concretization. Excess concretization is leading to what? More heat insolation. More heat insolation is leading to what? Increased temperature, and the increased temperature is leading to what? More excessive formation of low pressure conditions, and this low pressure conditions would directly result into excessive rainfall. Is it clear? Now this urban dome Why this happens? Like concretization is one of the many reasons. With the increased number of people, there would be increased number of cooling requirements. When I say increased cooling requirements, what does it mean? Like you would have have to have the more number of ACs working in a particular area. You would be having the more number of cooling towers operating in that particular area. You would be having the more number of factories and industries located in that particular area, and you would be having the more number of transportation facilities operating in that particular area. Is it clear? So we have discussed urban dome, its impact on the rainfall and its impact on the urban climatic setting. Is it clear? So next हमारा man made factor is land use pattern. Land use pattern. Now we need to see how this land use pattern have been making the conditions favorable for urban flood to happen. Now see, first point is under land use pattern is natural water drainage disruption. So let me take an example to make you understand how the urbanization, or how I should say land use pattern, changing the natural water drainage. Let me take an example. Suppose 1000 years back there have been the course of a particular river like Yamuna, which have been flowing in a straight manner. All right, I am just taking an example for Yamuna, which was 1000 years back flowing like this. Now, after some years, obviously, every river in its mature conditions changes its face. After some years, the Yamuna course was changed like this. The meandering has been happened for the Yamuna, and some oxbow lake could have been created. Now, this area which was left by the river, here the urbanization have took place. Urbanization have took place. Now, this non-judicious urbanization, without having to consider the changed path of the river, did not take into account what would happen if the river changes its path again. Now we see urbanization have happened without any provision for this kind of drainage to have been developed simultaneously. ठीक है? फिर से कुछ सालों बाद यमुना tries to regain its original path. Original path was what? Straight line. Now we can see obviously the areas which were developed here would obviously be under what? Flood. हमने रिवर चेंज के साथ डेवलपमेंट तो कर लिया, बट वी डिड नॉट टेक इनटू कंसीडरेशन द पॉसिबिलिटी कि अगर वापस से रिवर का पाथ वो हो तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे. This kind of possibility was never ever taken into consideration. Clear है इतना? Now next thing is urban planning cannot handle more storm water. Now this example is particularly important for cities like Delhi. Delhi ka development we have seen through the eyes of modern history. Earlier it was known to be as Indraprasth or Shahjahanabad. City have been developing over a particular core and has been expanding outwards without any consideration with the simultaneous development of the drainage systems. आज भी हमारा ड्रेनेज सिस्टम 19th century या 20th century पे डिपेंडेंट है, विदाउट एनी प्रॉपर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बिल्डअप टेकिंग प्लेस with the possibility of these kind of floods to happen. Is it clear? So let us move to the next slide. Now we have the natural reason for urban flood to happen. First one is cloud bursts. What do you mean by cloud burst? It is basically nothing but the happening of rainfall over a very short period of time. What do you mean by very short period? It can be like 1 hour, 2 hour, half an hour. So excessive rainfall, we know cloudburst as excessive rainfall, but period is very short. Excessive rainfall over a very short period of time is known as cloudburst. Second important natural factor is urban heat dome, which we have discussed thoroughly. Third one is monsoon rhythm. What do you mean by monsoon rhythm? As you know the basic concepts of geography, we know monsoon, the onset of monsoon takes place on 8th of June on the Kerala coast of India. So it starts on approximately 8th of June and goes on only for 3 to 4 months. So we have a greater number or I should say excess of rainfall over this particular 3 or 4 months, which makes it difficult to handle such a large volume of water on this very short span. Clear hai? Now we see the fourth reason is coastal area and cities lying along the river banks. You know, there has been a common thing between the urban flood and that city is most likely to happen on the bank of a river bank, or it can be on the mouth of a river bank, or it should be a coastal city. Clear? Like we have seen Delhi floods which have been recently happening is on the banks of Yamuna. Similarly, we have Mumbai floods which happened way back in 1998. It used to be having the Mithi river passing through it. Now we have another example of Hyderabad. Hyderabad is having Musi river flowing through it. Then we have another example of Lucknow, which is having Gomti as a river flowing through this city. Then we have another example of Goa having the river Juari flowing through it. So these are basically the examples of those cities which are having a river flowing through them, or they are most likely to be on the coastal plain, or I should say the mouth of the river in coastal areas. Is it clear? The fifth most important factor is physiographic conditions, or I should say physiographic setting of that particular area. What do you mean by physiographic setting? So here let me take an example. Suppose there is a city, there are two cities A and one city is B. The city of A, the underlying rock strata is made of igneous rocks, and for city B, the underlying rock strata is made of sedimentary rocks. So for city A, there is a higher possibility for urban floods to happen as compared to city B, which is having a lower possibility for the urban floods to happen. So why there is a more or less possibility for cities A and city B as on the basis of the physiographic conditions? See, the city A is based on the igneous rocks strata, but the city B is based on the sedimentary rock strata, and we know sedimentary rock has been pervious for the flow of water to take place. जैसे जैसे flow ज़्यादा होगा, the more will be the water seeping down the ground, and there would be less possibility for the urban floods to happen. इतना clear है? ठीक है. Next one is excess siltation in rivers. Excess siltation in rivers. This point has been particularly important for Himalayan rivers. As we know, Himalayan rivers are young rivers, so the possibility of cutting down the valleys would be more important for the Himalayan rivers. More and more valleys would be cut down, so more would be the siltation happening on the mature phase of the river. Now with this mature phase of the river, more blocking of the drainage pattern of the river would take place. अगर more blocking होगा तो क्या होगा? The area for the flow of water would be very less, which will do nothing but the block the flow of the water, which would be a direct consequence for the urban flood to happen. Clear है इतना? ठीक है. आगे मूव करते हैं, लेट्स सी आगे हम लोग क्या देखने वाले हैं. नाउ we need to discuss the impacts of urban flooding. What kind of impact would a urban flood create on the lives of the people, on the lives of the wildlife and the overall pace of the urbanization? Clear है इतना? ठीक है. So first impact is socio-economic impact we have for the urban floods. As we normally know, damage to urban infrastructure. Roads would be destroyed. Then we have electrical poles which would obviously be destroyed, disrupting the electricity supply of that particular area. Then we have utilities like the delivery of the gas cylinders, delivery of the ration for to the people. So these kind of services would obviously be hampered due to the damage to urban infrastructure. Then we have economic losses, which are nothing but the factories would be shut down, daily wages would be maximum impacted due to the closing of the factories, due to closing of the transportation facilities. So these are nothing but what economic losses due to the urban floods. Then we have the risk of epidemics. Now after the occurrence of these kind of disasters, many people are made to accommodate in a particular area for the safety of them by the government authorities. Now see, the more number of people in any particular setting, the more is the possibility for a epidemic to spread in that particular area. Then we have another impact is the casualties. We have seen too many deaths happening due to these disasters, too many people getting injured due to these kind of disasters, and there have been many people dislocated from that particular area due to nothing, due to these kind of floods. Clear है इतना? Then we have mass displacement of people, and it has been in our fresh memory as we see the COVID-19 migration, which was one of the largest in 500 to 600 years of the history of India. Many people left their urban setting, their urban workplace, and left for their villages just because of the fear of their life. Then we have the another category of impact known as environmental impact. Obviously, there would be destruction of biodiversity, trees would be uprooted, the grasslands would be destroyed, the natural habitats of the wildlife would be destroyed. So these are nothing but what environmental impact. All right. So next, move on to the next section. Now, we have discussed the causes for the urban floods. We have discussed the impact an urban flood can create. Now we need to see how these kind of impacts can be reduced. See, we can never stop an urban flood to happen, but what we can do is to reduce the impact, of that disaster on the lives of the people. For that, we need to have some kind of steps taken, which I am discussing with you here. First one is integrated ecological approaches. See, whenever the development of any area take place, we need to consider the possibility of any disaster happening there. The development should be on the lines of environmental sustainability. There should be no development, no development zones along the river bank, or I should say along a particular distance from the river bank. There should be no development which would hinder the course of the river flow. Secondly, enhancing capacity of the drainage systems. We need to enhance the capacity of the city's drainage system, which can be done by what? Making new infrastructure, for the drain water to flow, or we can have overhaul the existing infrastructure capacity to handle large volume of water, so that the possibility of flood can be minimized. Is it clear? Then we have flood hazards and zonation maps. There should be a collaboration between agencies like Geological Survey of India, ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, Ministry of Home Affairs, under which the NDMA comes. So there should be a proper collaboration between different stakeholders. The municipality or the municipal commission of that city should also be taken into consideration, so that effective policy making can be put into place. Clear? Now we have conservation and restoration of water bodies. Now see, this is the most important thing to do to minimize the possibility for a urban flood to take place. Clear? Conservation and restoration of water bodies, and in this comes lakes, wetlands, reservoirs. These should be conserved for minimizing the possibility of urban flood to occur. As we know, wetlands are of primary importance to, they are basically like the kidneys of the environment. The more number of wetlands we have, the less is the possibility for this kind of urban flood to occur. ठीक है? Next point is participatory approach for a risk-based early action coordination. Thus, it is almost like the same point. We need to have a stakeholder approach in which every stakeholder related to that particular urban area should be involved, so that a participatory governance can happen and the chances of flood happening can be reduced. Clear? All right. We move to the next slide. Now we see the initiatives already taken to minimize the impact of urban flooding. These kind of initiative have been taken by the government or has been taken by the municipal agencies of that particular city. So we are going to discuss them one by one. So first is the concept of sponge cities. See, this term is simple to understand. What do you mean by sponge? Suppose there have मेरे पास कुछ छोटा सा sponge है and I threw some water on it. So what it will do, it will absorb the complete amount of water inside. So this concept is basically the origin for the concept of sponge cities. So simply I should say, catch the water wherever it falls. For the sponge cities to work, we need to have some kind of rainwater harvesting measures. We need to have the greater absorption of water by the roads, pavements, and any other concrete infrastructure. New materials can be developed which have a higher absorbing capacity for the water, and this water should be stopped where it falls. Clear है इतना? Then we have standard operating procedure under Amrut. Amrut mission के अंडर में there has been a specific guidelines which need to be followed whenever a condition for urban flood occurs. Then we have flood management program which has been given by Ministry of Home Affairs, which gives some kind of financial incentives to the state governments wherever there is a possibility or there has been a happening of an urban flood. Clear? Then we have uniform system of alerts and warnings by Ministry of Home Affairs. Under this category, there has been codes red, orange, yellow, going by the severity of the flood that has been occurred. Red means there is a more possibility of the destruction. Yellow, orange is some kind of less, and yellow is most less. Clear? Now we have integrated flood warning system IFLOS, which has been developed in cities like Mumbai, which gives us proper early warning system, due to which the reduction, or I should say reduction in the dangerous effects of the flooding takes place. Is it clear? Okay, let us move to the next slide. Okay, so we have discussed everything related to the urban flood. We have discussed the what is an urban flood. We have discussed the reasons for an urban flood. We have discussed the impact it can create. We have discussed the way forward, what steps need to be taken when this kind of situations happen, and we have discussed the initiatives taken by the government and other agencies. I hope you liked this session on this particular topic, urban floods. And if you remember, if you write these kind of answers in your main examination, definitely it can create an impact on the examiner, and it will certainly show the level of knowledge a candidate is having. All right. Okay. Best of luck for your mains examination. Thank you.